Okay, today I wanted to go over with you how to make your business easier and how to work it and operate it when you go international. It's totally different than when you're working in the U.S. They're actually stricter with banking regulations when you go offshore, believe it or not. And St. Kitts is extremely strict, okay, when you do banking. Totally different than the U.S., okay? I have done banking for years in the U.S., and it's just totally different, okay? Now, one of the reasons is people have a tendency when they go offshore, they get slack and they do things they shouldn't do, okay? And things blow up, and banks don't like that, okay? Because it affects their relationship with other countries like the U.S. and the EU and places like this. So what happens is they have got guidelines in place that make things very strict. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to show you ways of getting around it when you set up your business. First of all, let me just tell you that crypto is a lot simpler to deal with when you go international with your business. If you don't deal with crypto, you definitely need to do it. And you ought to encourage, even if you're dealing with crypto now, you need to bring it up to your clients, because what you're going to find out is there are probably clients out there that if you just bring it up, you'll find out that they deal with crypto, and probably they would rather deal with crypto than dealing with fiat funds anyway. Let me give you some examples of some problems that you run into. In St. Kitts, for example, when you actually do a wire, even if it's a $50 US wire, it's a pain in the ass, okay, when you deal with fiat money, like US dollar, euro, things like this. Number one is we have to, if you wire funds to our account, for instance, we have to do what's called a source of fund sheet, okay? This lists, who the funds is coming from, what it's for. There are other little things on there too. And also we have to do an invoice. We have to give that to the bank because they want to know, what are we getting paid for? They want to make sure it's not illegal, okay? And they also want to make sure that, and it can be an email type invoice, just showing, between ourselves and the client, what they're actually paying for. And that's good for the client also, and number three is this is not done but on rare occasions, but we have had this happen with our company. And that is, if you wire funds down and you have a name that's very common like Jim Brown or Bill Smith, okay, there's lots of people with that name in the U.S., then what's going to happen is there'll be a criminal check that's done worldwide. And more than likely, if you've got a common name like this, okay, and by the way, too, they don't go by what you're called, they go by what's on your passport, because we have to get a copy of your passport. And they do the search based on that name. So although your name might be Bill Smith, your real name might be William Forsyth Smith or whatever. They're going to do the search based on that, okay? So whatever's on your passport, that's what the search is going to be. If they pull up that name on a worldwide check and they pull up a criminal's name with the same name, okay, they're going to require you to get a police report in the same place where you're at. So if it's a city in North Carolina, whatever, that's where the police report is going to have to be done, and you have to get that and send it in. Okay, now the wire is actually sent into the bank, okay, but it's not deposited in the other person's account that you're doing business with until all three of these are finalized and finished, okay? How long does that take? It can take up to 2 weeks to a month, okay? Typically it's a few days unless your name shows up on some sort of criminal file, okay? Now, if you deal with, again, three other things: source of funds, invoice, and police report. If you deal with crypto, all three of these are totally eliminated, at least for right now. Now, as regulations change with crypto and the brokerage accounts, totally different, okay? You can actually wire to third parties, in other words, people that you're actually, your clients that's wiring money to you, and there's no questions asked at all. They don't get a source of fund sheet. They don't require an invoice. There is no police report. Now, obviously, we want to make sure there's clean money when we do business with people, whether they wire the funds to St. Kitts or they're going to wire the funds to another place. But sometimes this can get out of whack because even banks in the U.S. don't do a lot of this stuff, okay? This is how strict it's gotten. But like I said, all three of these are eliminated when you deal with crypto. And when you set up a crypto account, most of them, all they're going to do is ask you your name, and they're going to ask you your residency. They're also going to know what your citizenship and your passport is from. And there are a few other, most of those questions that's it, pretty much, okay? And they don't do any of these three that I just mentioned that you would have to go through. Now, let me tell you why this can come in handy and why this is worth its weight in gold. First of all, if you come to St. Kitts, if you're setting up an account, I would advise you to set up what's called an unincorporated business or set up an offshore company where you're not licensed in St. Kitts, okay? Why? Because the unincorporated business allows you to do stuff here locally. Maybe you don't need to do things locally. If you don't need to do it, then obviously I would not set up an unincorporated business in St. Kitts. I would set up an offshore company, okay? Because the unincorporated business does incur a 4% gross tax, okay? Now, there is an exemption on that before that 4% kicks in, but it's 4%, which is almost nothing, okay? But you might be wanting to do local stuff, people, local contracts, local things in St. Kitts. Then that's the way to go. Don't set up an offshore corporation or a offshore LLC or a local LLC or a local corporation in St. Kitts or Nevis. Okay, an unincorporated business is totally different than those I just mentioned to you. Okay, you want to set up a corporation in an offshore entity that does not tax offshore income. St. Kitts and Nevis, I've done other videos on this. They've changed the laws on that. You don't want to use that. Now, again, St. Kitts doesn't have an income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax. They do have a corporate tax, and they tax limited companies at the same as they do corporate rates at 33%. I saw a guy on YouTube, well-renowned guy on YouTube, mention one day that St. Kitts didn't have a corporate tax rate. I'm thinking, where in the hell is he getting that from? Okay, I don't even know when St. Kitts didn't have a corporate tax, okay? They have had an income tax for years and years and years. They've had this corporate income tax, I think, from day one. As far as I know, is the time I've been here, 17 years, okay? And it used to be, again, 35%, now it's 33%. You don't want to set up a corporation in St. Kitts, okay? Now, there are certain companies or types of companies that in businesses, you're going to have to use that corporation if you do business in St. Kitts, okay? Now, I'm not saying if you did that business and lived in St. Kitts, you would have to set up a corporation. I'm saying if you want to set up a structure that's in St. Kitts, okay, then you might have to set up a corporation for that type business. Let me give you an example. Marketing companies for insurance let's say you're a brokerage with and you market insurance products as a broker, and you do that from St. Kitts. You don't have to be an insurance company. You just be a marketer for those companies. You're going to have to set up a corporation, a local corporation, 33% corporate tax rate. Nowhere around it, folks. Okay. Now you can live here and set up a corporation in the Cayman Islands, and you won't have that, okay? They're going to hit you a lot on fees, like Dubai does, but they're not going to hit you with a corporate tax rate there, because there's no corporate tax rate in the Cayman Islands, okay? Now, I wouldn't advise you to do business in the Cayman Islands anyway, because there are places that you can knock your corporate fees. I didn't say taxes, I said fees, because Caymans does have high fees. They don't have corporate taxes, but they do have high fees, just like Dubai does. But it blows my mind how people move to Dubai. They think there's no income tax, which there is not. There is a corporate tax rate there now, but you can avoid it. There's another video you can look on that. But the problem is you can set up offshore corporations that almost pay nothing. I've got other videos on that too. And what blows me is why people fly to Dubai, set up a business there, and pay outrageous fees and stuff, and they could pay almost nothing. And that's just what blows my mind, okay? And But people finally, they start learning after a while, but they've spent out thousands and thousands of dollars before they learn this, okay? Now, what you want to do is you want to set up an offshore corporation. Then what you try to do is you set up a crypto account in a brokerage company. And you get everything wired in crypto, okay? And if you do that, you skip all those 3 steps above. Now, can you deal with those 3 steps I gave you above? Yeah, you can deal with them. It's just a pain in the butt. And it delays your payment, you know, and if you deal with crypto, you don't have to deal with that. Now, I would advise you too, when you do this, you need to make sure if you're going to need to get licensed. Okay, let me give you an example. If you move to St. Kitts and you live in St. Kitts, but you have an offshore corporation, let's say in Belize, okay, you need to find out, first of all, are you going to have to get licensed for that type of business you're involved in, okay? Because if you don't, and you just think you're going to set up a business, and remember too, when you set up your website, the regulators are going to look at what address you've got on that website to see where you're going to be regulated at. In other words, where are you not just living? They don't care about that. They're concerned with where is your business located, not where you are, okay? So you could be living in St. Kitts, but you can have a Belize corporation, offshore corporation. You need to find out, is that company going to have to be licensed? Because if you don't license it and it's supposed to be licensed, you can get into all kinds of trouble, even in Belize. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say that you have a company that's in Belize and you live in St. Kitts. Okay, more than likely, regulators in St. Kitts are never going to mess with you because your company and the address of your company is outside. In other words, the corporation's not in St. Kitts. The address where your company is not St. Kitts. Then regulators they're not concerned with where you're living. They're concerned with where's that company located. How do they determine that? Again, they look at your address on your website, business card, and other places that you're advertising, okay? If someone picks the phone up and they call Belize because you're involved with offshore insurance, okay, and they call the regulators and they want to just make sure that they're dealing with someone that's licensed, he's not a scam artist or whatever, and they look on the record of all the companies that are licensed in that field and they don't see your name, okay? First of all, what they're going to do is they're going to say, what's this guy's phone number and where's his address? And they will send what's called a cease and desist order. They'll send it certified and they'll send it to you. And sometimes what they'll do is they might not even do that. They'll just wait till you come into Belize. They'll stop you at the border, take your passport and arrest you and fine you heavily, okay? This is why you want to make sure you get licensed in the place that you're supposed to be licensed. Don't just set up the company, set up your crypto bank account, because the banks, they're in Belize. Sometimes they don't even ask you if you're licensed there, okay? But I will tell you this, it's going to be a lot easier if you're licensed and you also have a company in the country where you're setting up that bank account where you're doing business. Crypto is totally different. Crypto, they don't care right now. All this stuff I'm telling you, man, it's like the U.S. was in the 1930s and 1920s. Now, is that going to change? I can tell you it's definitely going to change. When? I don't know. But I can tell you this is not going to stay like this. But what it does, life is so much easier, okay? And it's a lot cheaper to send wires. It's instant. You don't have all this crap that I'm telling you about, okay? But banks, very difficult to set up a bank account offshore if you're not licensed. Now, if you want to make it simple and you want to wire money in fiat money, not crypto, and you make it simple, and you want to set up a bank account, then what you can do is you can, to make it simple, go to a place like if it's Belize, then set up your bank accounts in Belize if you're going to be doing a lot of wires in U.S. dollars. And you've got a Belize offshore corporation. It will be easier. It's still going to be hard, but it will be easier than if you set up a Belize offshore corporation and then you go to another place to set up your bank account, and then you're not licensed in that country where you're setting up that bank account. because usually if you're licensed, there's some sort of due diligence that's done on you. So it makes the bank feel a lot more, the bankers that are dealing with you, more comfortable about doing business with you when you wire in fiat money like US dollars, okay? Crypto is totally different. All this crap I'm telling you, you totally skip. You skip. Everything skipped, okay? And this is why it's so much easier when you're setting up bank accounts and, or brokerage accounts and you're trying to decide on this. What you're going to find out is more and more people are moving towards using crypto or some sort of digital type currency, okay? And this is why they're doing it, because of the things I'm telling you right here. But if the U.S. sets up their own digital currency, all these things I'm telling you with the banks, the trouble that I'm dealing with the banks, you're going to have with digital currencies, okay? Bitcoin is self-contained. No one can go in there and arrest someone. There's no one behind it. So you don't have these issues and stuff dealing with it. Now, they can regulate the crypto exchanges, okay? They can come in and regulate those. That's how they regulate Bitcoin indirectly. They come in and regulate the exchanges. But right now, it's not that way, okay? Now, as time goes on, you'll see that change because of all this stuff going on with FTX and other types of problems with, you saw what happened with, with all these other ones that have basically folded. And, more and more regulators are going to get involved with this. So, the key things, I'm giving you the footprints to go when you're going offshore, how to make it easier to set up your business. PayPal, I don't like using PayPal because people can reverse charges and then you've done the business where they've paid for the service. And then what happens is you've lost the money. PayPal, you can't get through the lines. It's a pain in the butt to do it. It's a real hassle dealing with that. We like dealing with wires and we like dealing with crypto. Crypto is the best, the easiest across the board. But there are other ways, but those ways I have found out are more complicated. You can also deal with money exchanges like MoneyGram and Western Union. The problem with those servers, they do have advantages, believe it or not, because once the money's wired, it's wired. Someone can't cancel it like PayPal, where you get screwed. But there is limitations of what can be sent, and it's a pain in the butt dealing with MoneyGram and Western Union if you're going to have a line that you got to deal with. Crypto is by far the easiest, okay? And typically there's no limits on crypto when you send it. Whereas with MoneyGram and PayPal, MoneyGram and Western Union, you're going to have limits, and the limits are very low. That's the problem that you have with that. But I'll be honest with you, I would rather deal with those than the banks because you don't have the source of fund sheet, you don't have the police report that has to be done, you don't have invoicing crap that you got to turn in. Those services make it easier in that if someone wants to send in US dollars and they want to avoid all this the banks are dealing with, that's an alternative. But again, the limits are very low. Most of them won't go over $2,000 to $3,000 US dollars with MoneyGram and Western Union. Depends on where you're wiring to and where you're wiring from, because one can have a low limit that the other one doesn't. But both locations, where you're sending to and where you're sending from, both have to agree on that limit that you're using for that source to work if you're sending money. These are some things that I would be considering. And also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, or how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do three things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And number two is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number three is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Now, these are some things I would be looking for when you're trying to set up an exchange, a crypto brokerage company. If you're trying to get a bank account set up, again, if you're unlicensed and you're doing something offshore, you're going to have a problem, okay, with getting bank accounts set up. I would try to get a licensed business. It's a lot easier to deal with. If you're not going to be licensed, then it will be harder to work with and try to deal with crypto. It's just going to be a lot easier to get your business going. I'll look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.